Anyway.
And good evening and welcome to tonight's Order Paper Show, and would like to say our mystery panelist, Nicholas, welcome to the Order Paper.
Hi, how are you?
Good. And welcome to Laura, who's sitting over the other side of the Remy Tuckers in the 06 calling area. How are you?
I'm doing good. My face kind of feels like it's been slapped because brain fog, but we will push through tonight.
Oh, yes, we certainly will.
Just gotta double up on the caffeine.
Explains a bit of a lot here. Okay, so tonight's show we're going to be talking about the Citizens, Western Samoa Restoration Amendment Bill third reading, followed by the Oranga Tamariki response to Serious Youth Offending Amendment Bill first reading, and if we got a bit of time, a bit of something I personally think we should cover is the Disputes Tribunal Amendment Bill first reading, which will raise the cap from $30,000 to take a claim to $60,000. So, yeah. So, should we get to our first light-hearted bit? What was happening on Thursday in Parliament? Let's find out. The results may surprise you. Wait for it. The speaker's on their way. Here's the mace coming.
Speaker!
Yes. The issue is that
Almighty God, we give thanks for the blessings which have been bestowed on us. Laying aside all personal interests, we acknowledge the King and pray for guidance in our deliberations, that we may conduct the affairs of this House with wisdom, justice, mercy and humility for the welfare and peace of New Zealand. Amen. Members, I have received a letter from the...
So I think, where's Jerry?
Where is Jerry?
Not there.
But hey, the last time we had a female governing the whole House was one of the last Parliament sitting days in the 2017 to 2020 term with Antoli as the acting Speaker.
Ah.
So that's the last time. And the previous time we had Wahine. Does the term Wahine just mean female, Laura, or does it mean Māori female?
Wahine?
Yeah.
It's Te Reo Māori for female.
Okay. Would it be Margaret Wilson when she was Speaker from 2004 until 2008?
Yeah.
So, congratulations, Barbara, for holding basically the powers, even if it's temporarily, in a Wahine. Someone hit the wrong key there.
Oh, I was like, oh, show's over.
So yes, that's our little random little thing you find out from Parliament per week. Was it per week of random things there? I thought that was worth mentioning, considering you'll never hear it on the 6 o'clock news. Now, Nicholas, which for the viewers, we've already talked about this, but which electorate from the country are you based in?
Dunedin.
Dunedin. So you'll be having the great fun of having my favourite councillor down there, Mandy Mayhem Bollock, and a interesting part of having a new hospital that could be getting mothballed, getting built between that is surrounded on three sides by national state highways.
No, we need it anyway.
Oh, I know we need it, but we need it. We need it.
One of the excuse of Texas off a smoking bill.
Oh, exactly. I mean, isn't that what tobacco excise was meant to pay for?
Yep.
The healthcare. Yep. No, I think that would be a simple way to sit there and do it. So, what brings you a bit of an interest into politics?
I've listened to it for ages, and I got sick of all rubbish what we're doing at the moment. We're just sitting down doing nothing. But not for the people, but just for themselves. Getting all that money. Wasted it all. Especially the landlord's bill. Landlord's thing. They got so many billions of dollars.
Yes, that's so true. And you've got landlords like mine who may not be actually properly applying for it.
Yeah.
As there's been an interesting chat with my flatmate whose parents are landlords, and it's raised a bit of concerns that it makes you think, should I be filing my landlord's tax returns?
No. Supposed to give it to you.
Yeah. Because I'll probably actually make sure they get the correct deductions and entitlements that they can deduct back.
Why don't they deduct their wages and put into health care?
Oh, yeah, well, I don't think it'll be that much. I mean, in the grand scheme of things. Collectively as a country, on the other hand, would be a different story. Yeah,
Wisdom gets a fair whack.
Yeah. Okay, let's kick off the Samoa? The Citizenship Western Samoa Restoration Bill with Speaker Tiana Tuiono, who will kick it off because I feel that this is a bill we all need to hear.
Yeah.
Hold on. That works a bit better.
Mr. Speaker, what a great day it is to be Pasifika in this Parliament. Actually, it's always a great day to be Pasifika, Mr. Speaker, but let me begin by saying that this is before the Honourable Barbara Edmonds says it, that this is the 682 backing the 685. And let me begin by giving a big kia ora koutou katoa to all of my Samoan relatives today.
Hey.
And a big yeah koko. Mr. Speaker, this bill is about justice, reconciliation and progress for our Samoan communities in Aotearoa. And I hope that the passage of this bill is a milestone in addressing historical injustices acknowledging intergenerational harm and fostering accountability for past actions, such as the Dawn raids. But it's also about community involvement and the broader importance of strengthening relationships between Aotearoa and our Pacific neighbours, while also promoting unity in our pursuit for justice for our communities. Mr. Speaker, this bill is a significant step for Pasifika justice here in Aotearoa and around the Pacific. And I also want to acknowledge the rarity of this bill receiving unanimous political support across the House in the second reading and, of course, in the committee of the whole House. As we say in politics, it's best not to count your chickens before they're in the umu, but I am confident that there will be enough support, hopefully unanimous support, for this bill to get through its third reading. Mr. Speaker, I want to also emphasise that I didn't know it previously, because this is the only bill that I've ever had pulled out of the biscuit tin, that it's rare for an opposition MP to get a bill this far. So I want to acknowledge the very strong advocacy of the community today. It was your advocacy and your ability to talk right across the political aisle, which is why we have gotten to this point today. So I say a big whawhitai, tele lava to all of you. Mr. Speaker, often people ask me why the reasons for me putting this bill in the biscuit tin, and there are a number. As a first-term MP, you try to put something together to put into the biscuit tin, and in the last parliamentary term, we were working on the Dawn Raids apology, an incredibly heavy and painful subject for our peoples. And as I was doing that, Samoans my age were reaching out to me going, well, while you're doing this, there's actually all these other issues, and in particular, this very specific issue for our communities that we want you to address. And so today I want to acknowledge the Samoans who, of my generation, who are like myself, first-generation Pacific Islanders, born here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, who have similar experiences as me, who asked me to put this bill into the biscuit tin. And I note that I have I want to acknowledge a number of them today. I note that I've got a friend of mine, Te Ao Pritchard, she's up here as well. Other friends of mine like Tony Fala as well, and Green Party Councillor Renee Dingwall, who asked me specifically a lot to actually put something together to put this in the tin. Also acknowledging all the Samoans I went to Auckland University with, along with the Honourable Jenny Celesta, she'll know all of them, people such as Lotu Fuli, a number of us who ended up in He Whauwhau He Polotu Niue, which was the Niuean Student Association, people such as Terry and the others. You had an enormous impact on me on why I should put this bill in solidarity with you and your communities. But most of all, Mr. Speaker, today I am thinking of my brother, our brother, Whanana Efesel Collins. This one's for you, Oos. This one's for you. Mr. Speaker, there is a historical context to this bill, and I want to acknowledge Whalemai Lesa, who I think might be in the gallery somewhere today. I want to acknowledge her commitment and the work that she did in 1978 to challenge the government when they took away her citizenship, Mr. Speaker. I want to acknowledge the workers of that time who came to the Select Committee, who presented and talked about how they rallied behind Whalemai and her legal team to get the pūtea together, to get the funding together, to take the case to the Privy Council. Mr. Speaker, they won that court case and they were right. They were New Zealand citizens and they had their citizenship removed. Mr. Speaker, I want to reflect on the weight of the debates that we've had in this chamber, the weight of the conversations that we heard through the Select Committee process, and to celebrate and acknowledge the extensive consultations that we had with the impacted community. Mr. Speaker, there were powerful testimonies from the Samoan community during the Select Committee process, and I want to praise the authenticity and the passion of young people, of our rangatahi, that came to the Select Committee process with their vision for a better future. Mr. Speaker, if I could say to our Pacifica communities, seeing the strength and the intelligence of those young people, I am certain that the future of Pacifica communities is in safe hands. Mr. Speaker, I want to acknowledge the involvement of many of the former MPs, and I acknowledge you, Anai Arthur Anai, for your steadfast commitment to continue to push on this issue. And I note that there was a 2003 petition which had nearly 100,000 people, and also a demonstration outside the steps of Parliament. I want to acknowledge the other former Samoan MPs who have participated or shown their support throughout this process, such as the Honourable Lua Manuvau Winnie Laban, Teresa Ngobi, and Opeto William Seal, who actually he was one of the first people I rang when this thing when I got the bill pulled out of the biscuit tin. I want to acknowledge Te Pāti Māori for being one of my first responders when I asked them if they would support the bill, and acknowledging the connection between tangata whenua, acknowledging the connection between tangata moana, tēnā koutou katoa. I also want to acknowledge the role that, of engagements with the Vavau Vasa Manaia, the Right Honourable Winston Peters, for his very considered conversations with myself. We had a number of conversations with myself and the Honourable Jenny Celesta. 1982, I was just a kid, so having the experience of yourself, of the Right Honourable Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, was valuable in trying to find a way to navigate a way forward in this regard. Mr. Speaker, Limonga Lydia Sosene messaged me this morning, and I know that if she could have been, she would have been here. If she could have been, she would have been here. Sunga sister, I know that you are probably listening today. This bill is also for you. This bill is also acknowledging the work that you have done in the Select Committee and in your communities to get people to move forward as well. I would like to acknowledge the Yak Party, who were also, during the first reading, surprised the nation, I think, with their support. So Dr. Pumphrey Palmer, I'd like to recognise your contribution and the contribution of the ACT Party. The select committee process, Mr. Speaker, was amicable, I think, and I'd like to acknowledge the Cameron Brewer, Tim Costley and Tom Rutherford for their work behind the scenes, trying to wrangle their lot to get this over the line in a way that suits and benefits them. And of course, Andy Foster, whose amendment paper got up and mine too didn't. So congratulations to him for making sure that those amendment papers got over as well. Mr. Speaker, before I end, the thing is with these types of things as members of Parliament, we get up and we talk and everybody thinks that it's all about us, but actually the real heroes are the staff, the real heroes are the workers. And so I'd like to acknowledge the staff that have helped to support me, our Chief of Staffs, our directors, our comm staff, but I want to acknowledge Samu Telefoni, who is here today, Mr. Speaker. When I started this with Samu. I'm an Achuan, he is a Tongan, so you had an Achuan and a Tongan supporting our Samoan family. I would also like to acknowledge Liara Koika-Stevens, who's been doing a lot of the heavy lifting behind the scenes, making sure that I'm organised along with Samu as well, and the massive amounts of support that we've had from many of our young Māori and Pacific staff, Mr. Speaker, Jackie, Poppy, Tamahina and Sean, and all of our Green Party staff, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Greens are proud to have championed this bill, and we hope that it goes to some way to atoning for the past wrongs of this Parliament by the state against Pacifica communities. Let's savour this small but significant victory and carry forward the momentum to achieve possibly even greater things. When we unite in the pursuit of justice, there's so much more that we can accomplish. Mr. Speaker, whawhitai te lava, mei taki rā nui, I commend this bill to the House.
The question.
So, first speech of third reading. Feels very big positive fanfare.
Yeah, it's a shame that Efeso didn't live long enough to see this come to pass. Yeah, a lot of Samoan people that moved over here back in the early 1900s, they came here for work. And then during the economic crisis of the 1970s, a lot of them were just thrown under the bus. It's absolutely horrible the way how the government has treated Pacifica people, especially with the Dawn raids. So I'm glad to see that citizenship is being restored. It shouldn't have gone away in the first place.
Look at us.
No. How big's a biscuit tin? Must be a big one.
Well, the bill is, yeah. I mean, it was one of the few that got pulled out that is quite, that's an opposition bill that's gone through all three stages. It's now will become law.
Yeah.
So, what's your opinions?
They need more citizenship, they do. Bring it all back to them. They deserve it.
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out what the 625 to the 628 is, because to me it feels like telephone numbers.
It does.
Yeah. The 625 is Hillsborough, Mount Roskill, Royal Oak and Free Kings area of Auckland, but I've not found where the 628 is. It's like it may not be an available exchange.
May not be.
Yeah. Shall we kick off to Cameron Brewer as speech number 2 from the government?
Brewer. Te lofa lava, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished guests, Your Excellency Samoa's High Commissioner to New Zealand. Thank you for your submissions. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your belief in the process, and thank you for your graciousness. The National Party is pleased, very pleased, to support this third reading of the Citizenship Western Samoa Restoration Amendment Bill. We believe we have landed at a good place after a lot of work from a lot of people. The bill will restore New Zealand citizenship to individuals born in Western Samoa between 13 May 1924 and 1 January 1949, yet were not in New Zealand in 1982, whose citizenship was removed with the 1982 Citizenship Western Samoa Act. The House's intention is clear, the Select Committee's intention is clear. We are ring-fencing a cohort of now very special elderly people, possibly up to 3,500 individuals, and only those directly affected will be eligible as of right for citizenship by grant, not their descendants. By ring-fencing, Mr. Speaker, by ring-fencing the eligible 1924 to 48 cohort, we have done something, as I've said before, that no New Zealand Parliament has done in the 42 years since the Privy Council decision. We are acknowledging what many lost today, what many lost when the 1982 Parliament unanimously voted to rule those living in New Zealand at the time citizens, but not those living in Samoa or elsewhere. One historical perspective Mr. Speaker, that continues to be perpetuated, including in the New Zealand media today, was that it was the Muldoon government alone that overturned the Privy Council's ruling through the 1982 legislation to take away that citizenship. Taking away that citizenship in 1982 was a unanimous decision by this Parliament, with Bill Rowling's Labor Party and Bruce Beethan's Social Credit joining the government of the day to unanimously push through that legislation. And isn't it great, sir, that 42 years later, this Parliament is united again in the restoration of citizenship? Mr. Speaker, I want to pay tribute to our Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Christopher Luxon, and I also want to pay tribute to the support from senior MPs, their officers, the Honourable Nicola Willis, Shane Retty, Chris Bishop, Erica Stanford, our Department of Internal Affairs spokesperson, Chris Pink, and the Chief of Staff in the Prime Minister's office, Cam Burrows. I also want to acknowledge, Mr. Speaker, the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Right Honourable Winston Peters, and our Minister for Department of Internal Affairs, Brooke Van Velden. Thank you, Mr. Peters, for all the work that you have done and continue to do in the Pacific as part of your Pacific Reset program. Mr. Speaker, by amending, not repealing this legislation, we have avoided violating the 1962 protocol to the treaty, 1962 protocol to the Treaty of Friendship, and potentially straining diplomatic relations with Samoa. With that in mind, and all that work that's been done to get us this far, I want to acknowledge the sponsor, Green MP Tiana Tuiono, for his work, all his work and leadership and willingness to adapt his original bill to get it over the line, before we could arguably lose what is the last chance to make a meaningful acknowledgement to this generation. I want to also thank my government colleagues, National MPs Tim Costley, Tom Rutherford, as well as New Zealand First Andy Foster, for their interrogation and hard work over many months to knock this into shape. I want to also acknowledge one of my old bosses, Arthur Anai, for all the work that he's done, the tenacity that he's shown. I remember writing research papers on this for caucus in that back in the late 1990s, and he never let it go. And as I've said before, I turned up to Auckland Council with him and he was still going on about it. And he never let it go. So thank you for all the work you've done, Arthur. I know it's not exactly what you wanted, but it's as good as we could deliver across this House, and you should be very proud. I want to also take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to make a public service announcement of some sort, with information that I have sought from the Department of Internal Affairs today, via the Minister's office, to shine some light on how this will work in an operational sense, in a logistical sense. Assuming, Mr. Speaker, that the bill is signed by the Governor-General on Monday, applications for citizenship can be received from Tuesday next week. And I want to also announce, Mr. Speaker, that estimated processing times is 30 working days. But this is dependent on the volumes received and the information applicants provide. The website, the dedicated web page, Mr. Speaker, will be www.govt.nz/citizenship-Samoa-pre-1949. You'll be able to find it just by going to the GOVT NZ site. Remember that, the GOVT NZ site. And that'll go live by Friday, Mr. Speaker. That'll go live by Friday with the application form, information how to apply, and a contact centre live as well. People can also, their children, grandchildren, nieces and nephews, friends and themselves, people can apply in person at a DIA counter in Auckland, in Wellington, in Christchurch, in Sydney, in London, and most importantly, at the High Commission in Apia. Or by, Mr. Speaker, or by mailing the application form to DIA. Information on the refunds for successful applicants, which the government and others have agreed to, refunds for successful applicants, will be on the website. So that's the information on the refunds. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a very, very historic day. And as I was just saying to my good friend Tom Rutherford, no 2 days in the New Zealand Parliament are ever alike. And so it's great to be here for this historic moment, knowing that it has been 42 years in the making. And frankly, our Prime Minister can feel proud that since 1982, after 6 Labor Prime Ministers and 4 national ones, he is the one Prime Minister who is putting his support to this. I want to also acknowledge the support and willingness of the National Caucus to back this. That is the front bench and the back bench. Mr. Speaker, 42 years in the making. And it gives me great pleasure to commend to the House the Citizenship Western Samoan Restoration Amendment Bill. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
like pat me on the back.
I mean, no, you don't get pats on the back because both Labor and National implemented this the previous legislation that led to the Dawn raids. So it's like no one gets a pat on the back. The fact that this wasn't done sooner makes you get an eyebrow raise. You don't get a pat on the back.
Yeah. Yeah, that does feel, it did feel a bit more like pat me on the back. Yeah. Nicholas, you're being quiet.
Yeah, wonder how many people sign up for, to do the application forms. Probably quite a few Samoans.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow there's queues going outside the office and was it Samoa? Was it New Zealand High Commissioner in Samoa?
Yeah, but there's no office in Dunedin, so I have to travel to Christchurch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's no DIA office in Dunedin.
No, it used to be. Now it's in Christchurch.
Oh, that's not helpful. So if there's any Samoans in Christchurch who are eligible, not Christchurch, Dunedin, you've got to make a trip up the road that you can't do by train, that you can possibly do by plane, or how long does it take to drive?
Or a bus.
Yeah, it's I do. I've done it once, and it does feel like it does take a long time.
Yeah.
But I mean, I did that day. I did Picton to Dunedin in one day, and that is longer than driving from Wellington to Auckland.
Yeah, it's a long time. Like if you're on the bus, it takes ages to get to Christchurch and a bit cramped up on the bus.
Oh yeah, I don't think I could sit there and do the bus.
You know what? I was just thinking about government apologies. The government really does owe an apology to other Pacific Islander groups that were caught up in the Dawn raids. They also owe an apology to Māori people as well, who the police back during that time told Māori people to carry a passport on them. My mother was one of those people.
I know multiple who still to this day constantly carry their passport on them from the Dawn raid eras as well, which is really sad.
It is.
Being called an illegal immigrant in your own fucking home is an insult.
Yeah. Okay, let's get on to the leader of the opposition, Chris Hipkins, when I get to the right screen.
Talofa lava, Mr. Speaker, and to all of our Samoan communities here at Parliament today and who are watching around Aotearoa and in fact around the world. I know today is a very significant day for all of you. Welcome to Parliament. Today is about righting an historic wrong. It is a very big day and I'm proud to be able to take this call and lend Labour's full support to this bill. Today is about correcting and finally recognising thousands of Samoan New Zealanders who have always had the right to New Zealand citizenship. Today is about justice, and I acknowledge it has been a long and a hard battle for so many people who have fought for justice for so long. And I want to acknowledge Te Anō Tuiono for bringing this bill before the House. I want to thank him and the Green Party for working constructively with all parties in this House and for working particularly with my Labour colleagues who I'm speaking alongside here today. Thank you for your collaboration in making sure that this bill made it over the line. On issues like this, working together is absolutely the right thing to do, and I'm very proud to stand here today to say Labour has supported this bill at every step of the way. To the tens of thousands from our Samoan communities whose voices have helped to shape this bill, thank you for your ongoing and your strong advocacy. I know there have been a lot of talanoas held throughout the year with the community, and I want to acknowledge that many have shared deeply felt, personal and generational stories of their experiences as a result of that 1982 Act and the history between New Zealand and Samoa, and I want to thank you for sharing those stories. I want to thank our Labour MPs who have put so much work into making sure that we, as a team, understood why this bill was important and why our support for it mattered. They have been right there alongside our Samoan New Zealanders, supporting them each and every step of the way, whether it's during all of those meetings around the country, on marches, bringing their voices and aspirations to Parliament. Thank you to our Pacifica MPs. To Leomanga Lydia Susini, who can't be here today, but who sat on the Select Committee, a very warm thank you to you. To Carmel Sepoloni, Barbara Edmonds, Jenny Salisa and Tangi Utakiri, thank you for all of the engagement I know that you have been doing with our communities across the country. And can I thank Rachel Boyack, who so competently chaired the Select Committee, and to all of the members on the Select Committee for bringing this bill back to the House. It is a powerful thing to have strong Pacific representation at Parliament, and I'm very proud of Labour's strong connection with our Pacific communities and the strong representatives that you have sent to be part of our team. The strong relationship and that strength of relationship is something that we celebrate and we respect every single day in this House. It helps to bring about change, like the ones that we are seeing here today. And that's why I'm proud to say that Labour will continue to wholeheartedly support this bill. There have been many strong voices heard during this debate, almost 25,000 submissions during the Select Committee process. It's been very clear that this is an issue important to and close to so many within our community. I want to thank one submitter, Whalemai Lesa, who made history by successfully arguing her case to the Privy Council 4 decades ago that she was indeed a New Zealand citizen. Her oral submission, spoken in Samoan, articulated, quote, "The only thing I want is for my people to be able to travel freely without hindrance or legal implications. If only they didn't take away this right from Samoans." We have heard that message. She and many other aunties and uncles have shared similarly heartbreaking experiences of facing deportation when they should have been recognised as citizens. Thank you for sharing your testimony and for continuing to advocate to this day. Although this bill only applies to the elders of the community, and I say elders only in the sense of age, I feel very much encouraged by the staunch voices of young Samoans who have also been pushing for change. To quote one young and bright activist who led a petition in support of this bill, Esme Salesa, who is here, I want to quote from her directly, quote, "They have a right to be here as much as anyone else does, and they deserve their citizenship." I totally agree. This is about fairness. It's about ensuring that those who are entitled to the rights other New Zealanders have are afforded those rights. Outside of the scope of this bill, during the Select Committee process, we also heard from the community that they want Samoan New Zealand visas to be reviewed. We, as the Labour team, would be supportive of the government exploring those issues to remove and alleviate any potential barriers for Samoan New Zealanders wanting to make coming to New Zealand more accessible for their families. Today's decision to overturn injustices of the past against our Samoan communities is the way forward in honouring the spirit of the government's Dawn Raids apology. The apology was a watershed moment for New Zealand, and I know how important it was for our Pacific communities. But I also know that we've still got a way to go to make sure that our actions match up with the words in that apology. And today's passage of this bill through the House is another thing that gives meaning to the words when we said as a country that we were sorry. We must look to our past to reconcile our future. The Muldoon era heralded a series of discriminatory immigration laws, which of course led to the Dawn Raids and the subsequent 1982 removal of citizenship for Samoans born between 1924 and 1948. It should never have happened. Today is a step forward. I know for many Oranga, they've waited a long time for this. I know just how much today means for you all and what it means for the thousands who are now going to be eligible for citizenship. I'm glad through the Select Committee process we were able to achieve something which wasn't achieved at the first reading, the unanimous support of all parties in Parliament for this legislation. There were concessions along the way that needed to be made to get there, but I am glad that everybody got there in the end. What's important is that there is a pathway forward for those who would otherwise have been left behind. I know our Samoan communities are amongst our hardest working and proudest New Zealanders, and I know that today is a big day. I know for some of you, citizenship was the last step to being fully recognised as a New Zealander and finally feeling like you can call Aotearoa New Zealand home. And I can assure you that you have always been home here. Whenever I've been with our Samoan communities here, whether it's at a Pacifica Fest, at the Whale, or simply walking down Great South Road in Otahuhu, I've always been made to feel very warmly at home. I have always been very well fed, and I have always enjoyed great company. We're really proud of our Samoan communities here in New Zealand. Thank you for everything you contribute to the richness of this country. It's a legacy of empowering our communities that we're firmly committed to upholding. So for those of you who are eligible, I understand the oldest cohort may be as young as 100 years young. Once the applications are open, I encourage you to consider it. You have a right to participate in this country to the fullest, and we are very pleased that you are finally going to get this opportunity. Whakatai tale lava. Thank you all again. And as my colleague and good friend Barbara Edmonds, who no doubt is going to speak and say this later on, today it's the 685s to the world.
Okay, so 685s. I wonder if that's a telephone number block.
Probably.
I'll tell you what will really sweeten the deal, though. Removing the application fee, $204. It's like, no, just make that shit free.
Yeah, it should be totally free.
Now, Cameron Brewer did say in his speech that every successful application would be refunded.
Successful?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess it's a fair compromise.
Yeah, that is something that he did. I did hear in his speech that he said that the successful applications will be refunded, which is a good. At least that kind of acknowledges the right process, because it's at least it's going well. if you're eligible and you're not wasting people's time, you will get it. Whereas if you're just going to waste people's time, you don't get it back, which is normal when it comes to immigration applications. You don't tend to get the money back at the end of it, regardless of whether you're successful or not.
Personally, I'll just give everyone $204. Call it a day. It's like, sorry.
Yeah.
It's like, don't even have an application fee. Just give them the money.
Yeah. Let's get on to Dr. Punjit Palmer.
On behalf of the ACT Party to support the Citizenship Western Samoa Restoration Amendment Bill. We are quite pleased, Mr. Speaker, to see that this bill has come to the stage, and I know that it's a member's bill, so for any member for their bill to be drawn from the ballot is quite exciting. And then to see this bill come to the stage, final stage in the House, is even more exciting. So I would like to congratulate the member in charge, Tiana Tiono, for bringing this bill to Parliament, giving us the opportunity to debate this issue, and coming to this point that we are agreeing to support this bill. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to express my deepest gratitude to 24,000 plus submitters. Their effort is commendable. I also want to thank everybody who has been part of this process. I know that during the first reading, we had many members of the community, those who came here to witness the passing of the first reading and then the second reading. And after the second reading, Mr. Speaker, we had a beautiful function with the community, and I can say there were easily close to 150 members of the community, those who joined us for that function after the second reading was passed in the House. And Mr. Speaker, in the committee of the whole House, good progress was made on this bill. The amendment which was made, Andy Foster's amendment, Mr. Speaker, supported by the whole House. I want to acknowledge that, because that amendment provided a good balance. Because this bill is not about obtaining citizenship. This bill is about reclaiming citizenship. So I think it provides that really good balance that if the application is approved, the applicant will be able to get their fee refunded. And the whole House supported that amendment, which is again a great thing. And now, Mr. Speaker, in the third reading, again, I see that there are so many members of the community here in the gallery, and our gallery is full. Thank you so much for making this special effort. I know it's not easy to come all the way to Parliament, but you have done this because this is so important for you all. And it's great to see that the community is here in person to witness the third reading of this bill, and I want to thank you all for your efforts. Mr. Speaker, just recently in an event, I was talking to an individual, a respectable individual. I guess I can name that individual because that individual's daughter has been already named. The Honourable Jenny Salisa, I was talking to her, and she said that her daughter has been quite instrumental in gathering support for this bill because her granddad was affected by 1982 Act. So there have been so many reasons why people have come forward to support this bill. People really felt strongly about putting their word forward in the select committee process. And this has shown that our democratic system works. Because this is not the first time that the issue has come before the House. As the member in charge mentioned before, there was a petition that was in 2003, which had close to 90,000 signatures. And at that point, that issue did not go through. But now this has come in the form of a member's bill, and we are all supporting this bill and really looking forward to seeing that this bill becomes a law. And so to the community, I would say that if you really believe in an issue, do not give up. Do not give up. This is your Parliament. Keep bringing that issue again and again. As you have done this time, convinced a member to take up an issue as a member's bill, continue to do that. And I really commend your efforts in doing so. Mr. Speaker, becoming a citizen, as I'm an immigrant, becoming a citizen is not a small thing. And especially becoming a citizen of New Zealand is a matter of pride, is a matter of real privilege. And we know the value of being a New Zealand citizen. So it brings a lot of positives. It brings a lot of obligations, which are all positive again. It brings responsibilities as well. That is our duties towards the royal authority, our duty as New Zealand citizen to make sure we are following all the laws of our country. And Mr. Speaker, these people have been waiting for very, very long time to be citizens of New Zealand, to reclaim their citizenship. So it's not going to be anything new. And today, with the passing of the third reading of this bill, I know that it will invoke a number of emotions, the different kind of emotions amongst community members. There will be people, those who will feel their obligation becoming a New Zealand citizen. And there will be the sense of relief as well, Mr. Speaker, because this has been a long fight. And I want to acknowledge Fala Malisa and everybody who joined in that journey when the journey started, and all the community that is here today to support us debating this bill. This shows, Mr. Speaker, that sometimes the road to justice is not that straightforward. It's not quick. It can be long, it can have some bumps, But, Mr. Speaker, ultimately, justice is delivered. As I said in the first reading of the bill, for us, for the ACT Party, it is about fairness, it is about equality, it is about justice. And we really wanted to see this bill going to select committee process, and it did. And I'm really glad to see that so many came forward to speak about this bill and support this bill. I want to acknowledge all my ACT Party colleagues for being so supportive of this bill from the start. I want to especially acknowledge Honourable David Seymour and Honourable Brooke Van Velden as the Minister of Internal Affairs. It's really good to see that they have been very, very supportive from day one or about this bill. Mr. Speaker, going forward, yes, the process will start very, very soon. After 5 days, all those individuals, those who will be eligible after this bill goes through, will be able to apply to reclaim their citizenship. And it will be, I know, an exciting moment because I know so many of these individuals already have families here in New Zealand. It will be a great opportunity for them to become New Zealand citizens and then utilize their time with their families here in New Zealand without going through the longer processes that they might be going through at the moment. Mr. Speaker, community's voice has been heard, and community's voice has been really strong. And I would like to say to the community that keep your voice strong. Continue to advocate for issues that matter. And this is something that is to fix a historical wrong. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to fix this historical wrong. It is because of you coming forward that we have been able to pay attention to this issue and take this issue seriously and bring it to the stage. Mr. Speaker, finally, I want to say this, that I know that there are so many other community members, those who could not be here today, could not join us during the first reading or the second reading of the bill. I want to acknowledge them as well. And I really, Mr. Speaker, know that the commitment of those who have been part of this fight, those who have been part of this journey, will be honoured by the entire community. Mr. Speaker, as an immigrant, I understand the emotions that the community is going through and the emotions that the community will feel applying for citizenship and seeing their family members able to reclaim New Zealand citizenship. Mr. Speaker, going forward, I know that we are quite excited and we are really looking forward to welcoming those 3,000 plus Kiwi Samoans to New Zealand as they will become Kiwi Samoans after gaining New Zealand citizenship. And I want to congratulate all those individuals, those who will be reclaiming their citizenship. And Mr. Speaker, it's a real pleasure to support this bill and commend this bill to the House. Thank you.
I mean, I don't think she understands that citizenship was revoked from Samoans. It's not like, yay, we're moving over here from a different country. No. They had that right. They had that taken away from them, and they had to fight very hard to get it back. So I don't think she can relate with that experience. That's very different.
Yes. The interesting part is this potentially of what we did in the 80s could actually happen in the United States in the next 4 years.
Yep, it will probably because of Trump.
Yeah, but see how far that actually goes. This will be the big figures. Will it get that far, or will it end up stuck in the courts? Yeah. Okay, let's get on to Uncle Andy.
Yep. Mr. Speaker, this is a good day. This is a happy day. This is a day of alofa. It's a day that we together take the final steps in this House to right a wrong that is 42 years old. It's a day when this Parliament does what no other Parliament has done over that 42 years, despite several requests to take action, and it's a day when this Parliament will be unanimous, I'm confident will be unanimous, Te Anau, will be unanimous in supporting this legislation to correct that wrong which was done 42 years ago when that House was unanimous in creating the wrong in the first place. Mr. Speaker, I'm delighted to speak in support of this bill on behalf of New Zealand First. First of all, I just want to make some congratulations. Te Anau, I want to congratulate you. People get congratulated for getting a bill drawn out of the hat, but the reality is you had to be in to win. You got it in there, it came out, and you have worked diligently with the Select Committee, with the Samoan community to make sure that we got this bill to a place where it can get through today. So I want to congratulate you for all of that. Mr. Speaker, I also wanted to place on record my thanks and congratulations to all of the Select Committee. We worked, the Governance Administration Select Committee worked really collegially under the chairmanship of Rachel Boyack, Lamonga, Lydia Saseni, who's unfortunately not able to be with us. Quite a number of other members of Parliament were involved in that. My colleagues on this side, Tim Costley, Cam Brewer, and Tom Rutherford, and we worked really, really collegially together to make sure that we got this bill into a place where it will get through this House unanimously. And I don't think we've actually thanked a little bit the officials, but I do want to place on record, and I'm probably going to miss someone here, our thanks to all the officials from the different agencies, the Department of Internal Affairs, MB through the Department, or through Immigration, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Pacific Peoples. And the fact that you have so many agencies just illustrates what looked like a simple bill wasn't. It became very, very complicated. Every time you peeled the onion a little bit, it got more and more complicated. So I want to place on record my thanks to all of those officials. But my biggest thanks is to the Samoan community. And I just want to say it's great to see you all here in the gallery with us. Talofa lava, awhio mai, and it is wonderful to have you here. This is your Parliament. This is your parliament, and I hope that today is a way of your parliament saying that we are your parliament and proving that. I also want a very special welcome to His Excellency Ambassador Whaamatalapu Toleofoa. I think I got that there. It's lovely to see you, Your Excellency. And also to Whalemai Lesa, who I believe is in the room as well. So, and thank you for your courage and what you did all the way back in 1982 and for following through on that, because without that, we would not be here today and we would not be celebrating this day. So thank you. And I'd also like to thank, as others have done, Arthur Anai, who has been absolutely diligent in pushing for this. And as others have said, you haven't quite got everything here, but it's a big step forward. So thank you, Arthur, and thank you for keeping on the case. It's been, as I said, a privilege to be on the Governance and Administration Select Committee to work through this complicated bill. As you've heard, we had in excess or around 25,000 submissions, and actually on top of that, one of those submissions actually represented nearly 6,000 people. So effectively, we had 30,000 voices from around New Zealand, but also from Samoa as well. And I think that shows the depth of feeling and the importance of this bill to the Samoan community. And I want to say, we heard you. We heard what you had to say. We heard your stories. We heard your hopes, your dreams. We heard the stories of your fathers, your mothers, your grandfathers, and your grandmothers. We heard clearly the sense of a great injustice having been done in 1982. We heard your passion. We heard about the immense positive difference that you have made as the Samoan community in New Zealand. And I just want to say thank you for telling us your stories. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your positivity. And thank you for your grace in what you've done. What the bill does? Well, first of all, as we know, it gives the right to citizenship for people born in Samoa between 13th of May 1924. And when I write down 24, it's like going, oh, that's this year. But no, it wasn't. It was 100 years ago. And 31st of December 1948. It gives the right to apply for New Zealand citizenship and to know that it will be granted. To know that it will be granted. I was pleased that the House unanimously picked up and supported an amendment, which one or two of the other speakers have already mentioned. We deliberately tried to keep the price of application low in the first place, but we decided we would put a price on it simply because otherwise we might have an enormous number of applications which weren't eligible, and the Immigration Service was saying, please God, don't let us get overwhelmed by that. So we put a price on. But to me, the issue there was, why should you have to pay for something which was already yours? So you pay up front, and the amendment which the House unanimously supported, which I thank you all for, from myself and from New Zealand First, was that you will get that money back. So you don't have to pay for what you already had. This bill, soon to be an act, is built on history. And it's not a history that New Zealand can be very proud of. New Zealand took over Samoa in the great colonial way as things were in those days from Germany at the beginning of the First World War. New Zealand held Samoa as a protector, as a mandate country until independence on the 1st of January 1962. There were a whole series of citizenship acts in New Zealand, and it was actually only in 1948 that New Zealanders became New Zealand citizens. Before that, New Zealanders were British citizens. But to me, when you look at that legislation, it's quite clear that people born in Samoa, when Samoa was a protector of New Zealand, were New Zealand citizens. Because if not New Zealand citizens, then what? Because Samoa was not recognised. So what other than being a New Zealand citizen? And that really is at the heart of this case. And that was the heart of Whalemai Lesa's case. How can I be an overstayer if I'm already a New Zealand citizen? Now, the courts in New Zealand said, no, that can't be right. But the Privy Council said, yeah, that's right. Yes, you are a New Zealand citizen. And then, of course, the government of the day, with the support of the opposition of the day, all the parties of the House, said, actually, no, we don't like that, so we're going to remove that. And that is the injustice which we're putting right today. As I said, it's not a history that New Zealand can be proud of. It was negligence, a bit of arrogance probably in there as well, that led to a New Zealand ship docking in Samoa during the influenza, and 1 in 5 of the Samoan population perished as a result. It was probably worse than negligence when New Zealand forces opened fire on a peaceful demonstration in 1929, killing 11 people. And then, of course, I don't know what you could call it other than racism to say that how New Zealand behaved during the Dawn raids. So New Zealand does not have a proud record. And as we went through the process of hearing some of the submissions, I kind of wondered, why is it that you want to be part of New Zealand? So I say sorry on behalf of that, and you've had apologies over time, but New Zealand does not have a proud record in terms of our relationship with Samoa. In terms of the bill, we considered several key issues. First of all, do we agree with the core of the bill? And the answer now unanimously is yes, we do. Secondly, do we repeal the 1982 Act because it's much hated, it's a good symbol to repeal it, or do we amend it? And we decided on majority to amend it. And the reason for that was, apart from MFAT saying to us, please don't repeal it, because there are a whole bunch of things tied up in the Treaty of Friendship. We've only actually got one Treaty of Friendship with New Zealand, and that is with Samoa, because it will cause ructions in that. But the 1982 Act, of course, also included a faster pathway to citizenship. So if you're in New Zealand, you don't have to wait the 5 years, which other people do. And I remember as the Mayor of Wellington, I always used to ask when citizenship ceremonies, which are a wonderful thing, in citizenship ceremonies, how long have people been in New Zealand? Oh, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 20 years, 30 years. Samoan people said, oh yeah, a year, maybe. It was a faster pathway, so we didn't want to get rid of that. We'd have had to rewrite that into some other piece of legislation had we repealed it. But the important thing was, I think, we've got to the right place, is the title of the bill got changed. Changed the title to Restoration. Restoration, something that was always should have been yours, being restored. And I think that is a really good, positive thing to do. As I said, citizenship will be automatic. You just have to apply. And just to finish off with, there's a couple of other things outside the bill, and I was really, really strong on this personally. One of them was we heard a lot of submissions saying we want the ease of being able to move backwards and forwards. Whether we're a citizen, whether this affects us or not, it's the ability to be able to move backwards and forwards for family reasons, for events, whatever it might be, for celebrations. That's really important, and that is one thing that we as a select committee have said to the executive, please can you have a look at that? And we heard the leader of the opposition saying that they would support that as well. And the final one I wanted to say was we also heard a little bit, not a lot, a little bit about superannuation. Normally it takes 10 to 20 years to get superannuation depending on the age, but that is something that New Zealand First will look at very, very thoughtfully, give very careful thought to. So once again, I commend the bill to the House. but this is a special day. It's a happy day. Whaafatai lava. Thank you.
I have to say, I'm pretty impressed by Andy Foster's knowledge about Samoa. Okay, I'll give it to him.
Yeah, well, when you're the mayor, you do a lot of swearing in. Now, something I have definitely found out is that Samoa does allow dual citizenship, which was something for a long time Samoa didn't actually allow dual citizenship, because I know some Samoan-born people moved to New Zealand, got New Zealand citizenship, had to relinquish Samoan citizenship. So, but since 2004, you have been allowed to be a dual national if you have gained it after 2004.
Yep.
Yeah, so that actually possibly could work in a better sense now than before, as the dual still have the dual citizenship nature.
Yep. No, where credit's due to Andy on this one.
Yeah.
He knows the stuff.
Yeah, no, it's one good thing about having him in Parliament is, we get a lot out of him.
He wakes people up. He does.
Yeah, no, there is enough there. Like, some people say I'm not hard enough on him, but it's what happens when you actually know the guy, and you know him reasonably well. You do see these politicians in a slightly different context than you do when you just see them as figures from some part of the country. Like, I see Andy Foster or I see Julian Genter in a very different context to how I see, say, Penny Simmons or Rachel Boyack or who's a NMP from up north, Michael Wood or something like that. So I see
David Seymour.
Yeah, David Seymour. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, we'll head to Debbie Narua Paka.
Tēnā koe te pika. O te tū atu I luma nei, I awi au māsui o tangata whenua. O mukapuna Samoan Māori e langolango lei, mamalu o tangata Samoa. Ho lenei tula whenua. Ia whamanuia atu o mātou tupuna I o autu. Ia omai e le atua, le manuia mō tātou, whawhitai lava. Kei aku nui, kei aku rahi, kei aku wakatamarahi ki te rangi, kei aku wakataitai ki te whenua. Tēnā tātou katoa. E tū ana hau hei manga I ngā kai kōrero mō te Pāti Māori. E kaha tautoko ana I tēnei kaupapa o tira. E te pānuitanga tuatoro o tēnei pere. Kei aku whanaunga o te moana nui a kiwa. Nō koutou, tērā. E tika ana te kōrero e ki ana papake mai. Ngā nunui, wawaratia, ngā tairere e ripo e ngā ngaru nui, te rehutai e konei rā. The great waves crash. The currents spread. Swirling with the large wave of the foam of the sea. This is the kōrero that describes our whanaungatanga and the power of the movement of the ocean, signifying the movement of the significance of today. And in this case, the significance of you, our whanaunga, our tuakana. We are one moana. We are one people. We are multiple waka. It is right, it is pono, it is tika to always be here and witness when something so kino or so bad has been removed. We acknowledge all who had to stand in the face of this harmful racist legislation, and for all our mokopuna today who continue to have to confront the experience of racism, discrimination, for those who don't believe and feel the beauty of our whanaungatanga, of our mokopuna, of our Samoan mokopuna, our Māori mokopuna, our Pacifica mokopuna. It is heartbreaking to know what you had to endure. And we stand in sadness for all of our tupuna who didn't get to experience this today. If only this House could stop creating harm. We call on you as our tuakana because you are not immigrants. You are not immigrants. Citizenship is about whanaungatanga and wakapapa. And if we were running our country, the ability to flow with the moana in and out, around and back, would happen as seamlessly as it did in the past. That is what citizenship for us is about. Today, we celebrate what has been achieved and what has been fought for. Huge mihi to you, our brother, Te Ano, who had the vision and the boldness and the humility to be able to negotiate this to where it is today. Our wakapapa is something to be treasured. And while it is that we hear the lament of those in this House who have apologised and have supported this bill, I acknowledge you all. I acknowledge the mokopuna of those who had to experience this great, deep sadness and what it is that they turned up yesterday for us. Because your teina here are going to call on you and need your tautoko for what we're confronting as well. Hewa no whānau. This is a celebration to wakanui you, to wakanui the strength, the vision, the guts of those who never gave up, and may that always be flowing through the bloods of our mokopuna today as they had to continue to fight, but also enjoy the blessings of our God, who made sure that we got to be here today to enjoy and be able to see what it is for us to experience kotahitanga. So Te Pāti Māori has the absolute honour to be here to tautoko this bill. May we never ever see the repeat of this in our history, and may we be brave and bold enough to continue to push for what it is that we know is real and true. I thank you for the honour of my mokopuna and the most beautiful son-in-law that I could ever have, our manu tai whānau. You have graced us with every strength that we could have, and together we will continue to look at what the waters and the moana brings us. Ngā reiri te āhuatanga o tātou tūpuna, ngā mihi aroha kia koutou katoa.
Whew. That sounds very quick and brief, but very well thought out.
Yep, straight to the point.
It's got it there. He has.
Yeah. Now, shall we head to Barbara Edmonds? Because I'm very keen to hear what Barbara has to say before we get to the next bill.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Tatolu mai, tatolu mai. Tatolu mai, tatolu mai. Lua pati mo Samoa. Samoa. Let's do it one more time. Lua pati mo Samoa. Samoa. Just wanted to make sure, that we had the Samoans still in the house today. Much history has been traversed as this bill has progressed through our parliament. Our Samoan history with the New Zealand administration, from the ship the Talloon and the influenza pandemic to the Dawn Raid's apology. Today, Madam Speaker, is a joyful and historic day for our Samoan community. Again, representatives of our Samoan community are here in Parliament to ensure, like any auntie or uncle would, that we, the members of this House, hold true to our word and support this last reading. There is nothing like the stare of repercussions by a Samoan auntie or uncle to ensure we comply. Let that be a lesson for us all. In the same spirit that yesterday's hikoi was conducted a kaupapa of Rangimarie under the cloak of aroha, peace and honour, we see what is possible when people come together for a right and just cause. It gave me such heart when I saw the Samoan flags and the flags of our Pacific nations side by side with tangata whenua over the last week. My ask is that we continue as tangata moana to stand in solidarity with our taina who are feeling the weight of decisions being made without them, much like why we are here today. Much deserved thanks has been given to our brother Te Anā Tuiono for his shepherding of this bill. If he didn't before, I'm sure he knows fully well now that us Samoans are a complex yet organised people with many, many views as to the right way of doing things. But we stand wholeheartedly behind him. Our thanks to you for taking this forward. We also remember at this time our good friend Whaanana Efeso Collins and his wife Fia and his beautiful girls who would have been proud of the impact he continues to make here. Much thanks has been given today. I echo those sentiments to all those that have been named. But one group I wanted to focus my particular thanks to today, as we conclude this historic day, are the hundreds of the cleaners, the kitchen hands, the supermarket workers in our Samoan community in the 1970s and 1980s who organised to raise the funds for the Privy Council case taken by Whalema'i Lesa, who tested the law, succeeded, and ultimately has paved the path to where we are today.
He deserves respect.
These low-income workers and their supporters did what we know best, worked as a village to raise funds for a matter of significance. What little they had, they still gave, and similar to the parable of the widow's offering in the Gospel according to Mark, much blessings will be given accordingly, whether it be in this life or the next. But villages need chiefs, and I want to ask the House to indulge me on acknowledging the Special Committee on the Overstayers issue. This special committee was formed to lead this organisation and fundraising and was based both here in Wellington and Auckland, so it is only fitting that on this day I name them so that their contribution to our history be recorded in the Hansard. Whaalua Elefasa, Asofa Tangata Esi, Richard Robert Pritchard, Aola Fiu Samuela, Michael Fuma'i Fiu Mercury, Sakaraya Piniata, Elizabeth Be'evi Smith Lilo, Auntie Liz, Dr. George Barton, Pulipule Ta'avau Iono, George Rosenberg, Paula Siunga Masoi, Reverend Tu'au Tiatia, Puni Raya, Pipi Fa'ailo, Pita Fa'aea, Tile Tolo, some and many who have passed away. And of course, Whalema'i Lesa herself. Whawhitai, 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 tele lava to you all. So, Madam Speaker, it is my great privilege, first and foremost, a Samoan girl from the villages of Whaleula, Whaleakiu, Safotu, Fasu Uta and Asau, to lend my support, and I commend this bill to the House. 685 to the world.
I will be honest, it kind of sucks being part Samoan and not understanding the cultural references. That's how devoid I am from that part of my family. It's like I understand all the Māori references, but not the Samoan ones.
And that's why I probably was thinking it was associated with telephone numbers.
Yeah, I'm sitting here going, what's that? Is that a policy number?
Yeah, no, because areas of country, I mean, of like exchange blocks. And I remember when I was in Levin, I was one of the few people who didn't have a free 6-something phone number. I had a 929 landline number.
Yeah, I mean, credit. I'm so glad that Barbara mentioned all the civilians who were involved in this effort, because they're the ones that deserve the claps. The Parliament doesn't really deserve claps, in my opinion, for doing the right thing after doing a horrifically wrong thing. It is the civilians who brought up the issue and campaigned to get the right thing done. They're the people that deserve all the claps.
We do. Especially if we do. Yep. Of course.
Okay, let's get to the final part of showing the vote, and then we'll get on to the next bill where there's be a bit more fireworks.
Okay, so appreciate to the gallery that you've waited a very long time. I just asked for your indulgence of about 30 more seconds. Members, I have some housekeeping before I put the question. At the conclusion of this order of the day, the House will be suspended for the dinner break and resume in committee at 7:30 p.m. for consideration of Members' Order of the Day number 2, Corrections Victim Protection Amendment Bill. The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The motion is agreed. You may sing, clap and celebrate as much as you
Western Samoa Restoration Amendment Bill, third reading.
Since we have been given permission to sing one more song.
You have?
To compliment, because today, this is the day that the Lord has made. Just listen to it. There will only rejoice and be glad with it. The Right Honourable Prime Minister, Cabinet members of the House, and honourable members of the government, thank you so much. Our prayers are answered. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your compassion. Thank you for your love. Now we know, people of this land, we are sharing the same DNA. Yes, praise the Lord.
Sharing the same DNA.
And the Holy Spirit. Amen. God bless the House.
How often do you get to see something like that in Westminster? This is what makes New Zealand New Zealand. There's moments like that.
Yeah.
History too. This will be in the history box now.
Yeah, and it's all recorded for us to watch time and time again.
Yep.
Yeah.
They'll make it in New Zealand a good history. So they'll probably have to teach that in schools, the history of this bill.
Yeah. I can picture many teachers I had at Paraprimary College who would do a good job at doing this.
Yeah, I mean, finally, the book on the Dawn raids can finally be closed.
Yeah, and the hard workers too. We get a whole heap of Samoans here to work for our orchards.
Yeah, they keep a lot of our agricultural part of the country going.
Yep, and then they send the money over to Samoa, back to their families.
Okay, we'll get to some a more serious piece of legislation, the Oranga Tamariki Responding to Serious Youth Offenders Amendment Bill, first reading.
Do we have to do the depressing one?
Yeah, we need to see how Karen does the opening speech.
Oh.
Yes, I do know it is depressing at times, but sometimes you need to sit there and have that so then the viewers can spit tax or do praises, as has been said in many comments of some of our videos, including the one on Rawati Waiti, and how many misinformed comments are on there.
Madam Speaker.
Honourable Karen Shaw.
I present a legislative statement on the Oranga Tamariki Responding to Serious Youth Offending Amendment Bill.
That legislative statement is published under the authority of the House and can be found on the Parliament website. Honourable Karen Shaw.
I move that the Oranga Tamariki Responding to Serious Youth Offending Amendment Bill now be read for a first time, and I nominate the Social Services and Community Committee to consider the bill. In recent years, Madam Speaker, we have seen an unacceptable spike in youth offending. For a small group of young people, our current responses are not working. There is a clear gap in the youth justice system, and the system does not have the tools to respond adequately. For this small group, we need to do more, and this bill closes that gap. This bill makes fundamental changes to offer a faster, stronger, and more targeted response to young people who repeatedly commit the most serious offences. It is my view that this might be our last chance to try and prevent these young people from entering the adult jurisdiction and becoming persistent adult offenders. I want to do everything we can to break that cycle of offending, Madam Speaker. The bill introduces a young serious offender declaration and a military-style academy order. These changes are going to drive a more immediate, intense and long-lasting intervention. I wanted to start by sharing the experience from the Military Academy pilot, which lays the foundations for this legislation. This year, we had 11 young people begin the 12-month military-style academy pilot, with one young person deciding not to take up the opportunity. Each one of them was showing persistent and serious offending behaviours and was in a cycle of going through the youth courts, spending time in youth justice facilities, and then re-offending and ending up back in youth justice facilities. They were causing harm to our communities and everyday New Zealanders who became victims to their offences. The pilot was the beginning of an acknowledgement that I wanted to do more and do better to respond to our most serious young offenders. Oranga Tamariki has taken a new approach to youth justice that is tougher on crime but also puts the needs of the young people at the very heart of this program. For 3 months, the young people were in Te Aorere, where they learnt new life skills, took part in training, followed a routine, learned teamwork and looked for a better future. Several of the boys left the residence with jobs already lined up. Each one has a mentor who is working with them for 30 hours face-to-face every week, and there is intensive tailored support for each young person while they reintegrate into the community and put the new skills they have learnt to use. I've seen firsthand the success of the residential stage of the Military Style Academy pilot. These young people engaged in 3 months of the program without incident and without any safety concerns. To me, this is phenomenal. The clinical team observed improvements in their behaviour, and some of them have made progress towards building healthier relationships with their whānau. They've been encouraged to set goals for themselves and work towards these. But this hard work is only just beginning, and I want to ensure every one of these young people is given the chance to be the best that they can be. That is why today I'm proud to introduce legislation that builds on the success of the pilot and will be a key to achieving the government's target of reducing child and youth offending. The bill creates a serious youth offender declaration, which will unlock stronger powers for both the Youth Court and New Zealand Police. A young person will be eligible for a youth serious offender declaration if they are 14 to 17-year-old at the time of offending, have committed at least 2 serious offences, and are likely to go on offending, committing crimes with a sentence of 10 years or more. This is targeted exclusively at young people who have had previous interventions that were unsuccessful. Before a young person can be declared a YSO, police will first have to inform a family group conference that they are likely to meet the criteria for a YSO. The FGC will then have an important opportunity to consider the best response to that young person's offending and make recommendations to the Youth Court. The YSO declaration will be made at a judge's discretion. And in making any YSO declaration, the judge will consider a range of factors, including the young person's history, their social circumstances, and the views of the victim. Once a YSO declaration is made, it will last 2 years, allowing experts to invest in and get alongside these young people over a longer period of time. After a declaration is made, the Youth Court will have a range of new powers available to it, including the ability to make a military-style academy order, longer youth court orders, and increase the use of electronic monitoring. Crucially, for every young person declared to be a YSO, it will also trigger a far more intense operational response. Oranga Tamariki will offer wraparound support, including intensive case management and more support from social workers. They will increase work with the young person's family, offer targeted rehabilitation, and focus every effort on their transition to ensure that every young person is entering a positive environment and given the opportunity to turn their lives around. The bill also provides for new police powers to ensure that when a young person is reoffending, we can respond far quicker before that offending escalates. The bill also creates a military-style academy order, where young people will be based in a youth justice residence between 3 to 12 months. During that time, they will take part in a bespoke curriculum with daily activities to support their learning, their health and their well-being. It will include military-style activities, and the young people will be part of a group where they progress together throughout the duration of the program. This is about having consequences for the actions, but rehabilitation at the other end. The military-style academy order will now be the most restrictive youth court sentence available. However, it is underpinned by an intensive case management for each young person. Following the residential component, the young person will be put onto a supervision order, which focuses on their transition back to the community. Family and whānau are critical partners and will be engaged for the full duration of the program where appropriate. And I want to bring to the attention the important matter of use of force, which will be enabled in this legislation. Use of force are already available to Oranga Tamariki staff working in the youth justice residence. There are safeguards in place for this, which include strict policies and training for staff, along with reporting and escalation processes. In this bill, it is proposed that qualifying community providers would also have use of force powers. This is to ensure that providers and their staff, whether Oranga Tamariki or another agency or provider, will have the power to use force in the form of physical restraints or physical holds no greater than reasonably necessary to prevent a young person from being harmed, harming themselves, or harming another person. It also prevents a young person from absconding from a residential location or while outside the residential location for other activities, or while at another location used as part of an MSA from time to time. The intention of these powers is keeping young people safe, keeping the people working with them safe, and keeping our communities safe. If we're going to devolve back to community and back to iwi, we need to be able to give them the same powers as Oranga Tamariki, so in the future they may be able to run these programs themselves. These powers will have carefully considered safeguards enabled by secondary legislation. They are existing legislative provisions which provide for restricted use of force of powers in order to keep children and young people safe in the community. For example, under the Education and Training Act, which applies to all schools, or authorised staff members in teaching positions at registered schools are able to physically restrain a student where certain conditions are met, and this will be the same. This bill is an important step as we get to the root of serious and persistent youth offending, Madam Speaker. It signals a change in direction the government is taking to provide a stronger, faster and tougher responses to young people who continually offend. We want every young person who will be part of this program to take up every opportunity that is offered to them. But ultimately, Madam Speaker, what they do with these opportunities will be in their hands. I wish to acknowledge the work of my colleagues, the Minister of Justice, Honourable Paul Goldsmith, and the Minister of Police, Honourable Mark Mitchell, who have worked closely with me to help me deliver this bill. I commend this bill to the House.
The question is...
Okay.
Well, I don't commend it to the House. I commend it to the rubbish bin.
Well, that is probably where it might belong.
I don't know.
It reminds me of limited volunteer service course you do with a working income.
LSV?
Like that. LSV course.
Well, LSV, the difference between LSV and what this is that LSV is voluntary, right?
Yep, it is. Yeah.
Voluntary to go. This is compulsory. A judge can send you to go to one of these.
Oh, it reminds me of back in the old days, like people with compulsory training. Back in my father's time, he had compulsory training.
Yep.
Yep.
And the older people had compulsory training, so you go there, you got compulsory training.
Yeah, and I do know there was the ballot of being called up for the draft. I do know that happened because I know my uncle was watching it for during the Vietnam War. So I do know that. But I mean, the big question is it? I mean, these courses aren't being run by the military. That's the thing. The military don't want to touch it with a 10-foot barge post.
No, they said it before. They didn't want to touch it, and the government wants them to touch it.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing is, what's going to happen if they're successful and go, I'd like a career in the military? Sorry, their criminal record is going to sit there and go, sorry.
No, sorry. Haven't heard of that.
Yeah,
I mean, there is no evidence that military-style training reduces crime, right? I mean, people look back at the old days like, oh, my father went and did compulsory training. Okay, was your father a criminal? Did your father have a history of mental health illnesses? It's like,
no,
we're talking about, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're talking about kids who are being forced to do this stuff,
Yeah.
don't need this stuff. They need actual proper treatment. They don't need to be told to do 100 push-ups every morning. It's like having a person shout at them or, run over or underneath obstacles. No,
I mean, and some people sit there and think having a sergeant major screaming at you is a good thing.
Yeah,
or make your own bed.
Yeah. It can be, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Is that what you want? Because, if you subject someone to that, what's going to be a potential future life for them? Are they going to become, perpetrators of domestic violence?
One of the could go back to them again and say, how do you go on the course and how are you going to improve yourself? Like 20 years' time, what's going to happen with Ian?
Yeah. I mean, I know my grandma did personal interventions on many disruptive children at Porirua College, and every single one she personally intervened, and typically these were males. Her role at Porirua College was mainly female student disciplines as being associate principal, and she intervened in many of these male ones, and all of them have stuck out criminal record free. So, you know, if you want to, give my grandma a ring. She might be actually able to tell you some very good successful devices.
Well,
and if you really want to, you'll have to get the spiritualists out and channel the dead. You can give my grandfather a ring.
Your grandma's onto something, because the data has shown that community-run programs tend to be a lot more effective in dealing with these sort of kids. Having people in the community.
And the area she was teaching in was Porirua, which was predominantly Māori and Pacific Islander. Yeah. Okay, let's see what Willow Jean Prime is in her reply.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Honourable Willow Jean Prime.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that was the Minister for Children. The Minister for Children, 1 week after the Prime Minister delivered an apology to survivors of abuse in state care, the Minister for Children is introducing legislation to respond to serious youth offending that is tougher, more punitive, lacks evidence, goes against the advice of her officials, goes against the recommendations of the Royal Commission, has no evidence to support that this approach works, has all the evidence for her for the approaches that do work, and is completely ignoring it. That's right, this bill is taking us backwards. This bill is seriously dangerous for our young people. Madam Speaker, this pilot hasn't even finished yet, and the Minister is introducing this law today to entrench boot camps. The pilot was a 12-month pilot. We've only finished 3 months of in-residence. It hasn't even been evaluated. You haven't been able to take the lessons or learnings from it, Madam Speaker, and include it into the approach. That is because this government never cared about whether it worked or not. The things that you're extending in here around circuit breaker and fast track were the things that Labor was doing and that the evidence shows is working, and yet you will carry on doing things that the evidence shows does not work. Against officials' advice.
Before the member carries on, please don't use the word you in your
I am
debate.
trying very hard not to do that, Madam Speaker, as they heckle me, and I am responding to them, but I will try to refrain from bringing the Speaker into the debate. Goes against officials' advice, goes against the Children's Commissioner's advice, goes against things that the Chief Judge of the Youth Court is saying works and is needed. This government doesn't want to listen to any evidence. Officials said, lack of evidence underpinning the military-style component. Not able to consider non-legislative responses. The directive from this government was we want enhanced legislative provisions. There has been a lack of consultation, and they know that this will disproportionately impact on rangatahi Māori. They are extending the use of force, wait for it, to third-party providers. And they have not even put in the safeguards in this legislation. It is an afterthought. It's going to be possibly done, who knows, in secondary legislation. Have they learnt nothing from the Royal Commission, Madam Speaker, where it said that these are the very types of circumstances that give rise to abuse being able to happen in state care? Rushing it through, not putting safeguards in place. This is unbelievable, Madam Speaker. You're giving police greater powers to allow them to designate somebody a serious young offender, children, and arrest those deemed serious young offenders without a warrant. Sentence them to your boot camp experiment. Now watch this. It is increasing, Madam Speaker. First it was 3 months, but now it's 3 to 12 months. Are the government increasing the in-residence component here, Madam Speaker? We didn't hear the Minister speak to that. Allowing contractors the use of force, not having the appropriate safeguards in place, leaving it as an afterthought. How can we trust that this government is going to do the right thing by these young people when we cannot see any evidence of that so far? Madam Speaker, we do not commend this bill to the House.
She's absolutely right. Everything that she said there, I looked at the reports. I read through a number of different reports, including the report that was sent to Karen. She is correct. Karen ignored the advice that was given to her by Oranga Tamariki. Nowhere in Oranga Tamariki's reporting, in previous reports, have they ever recommended boot camps. They've always recommended community services and ways of alleviating inequity in communities and giving families more support. They have never advocated for the use of boot camps.
What's the cost of the boot camps? It will be worth a lot of money.
About 100,000 per kid.
Gee, you wonder how many children there? Heaps. And then who's going to pay for that? The taxpayers?
Yeah, taxpayers going to pay it.
It's crazy.
Not from the MP's personal salaries.
It should be.
Yeah, it should be. Karen can pay for the damn experiment.
I was going to sit there and say $100,000, sit there and take it from each cabinet minister. If you took $100,000 off their salaries, that would net in $2 million.
In the recommendation to Karen, Oranga Tamariki said, "Hey, this could work if people that are attending this are given psychological support and given after support, right?" Well, in all of their reports, find the common thread here. Okay, the boot camp, shouting at kids, getting them to do fucking push-ups is not the thing that's helping them. It's the services, the service aspect, like providing psychological help, getting them medicated, helping them get their education, helping them become more independent. That's what's helping these kids prevent crime in the future.
Yeah, I know someone who got sent to a boot camp and they had to take him off Ritalin because it kept him too calm.
That's
just to put that as an example.
That's what it's meant to be for. Keep you calm.
Yeah, well, apparently if he was on Ritalin, he couldn't do push-ups because he didn't have the anger to sit there and do push-ups.
You shouldn't be angry to do push-ups. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, but these are random little things you hear. Okay, let's go to Joseph Mooney from National. Oh, no, sorry, hold on. Kahurangi Carter.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I begin this kōrero with the words of Dame Whina Cooper. Take care of our children. Take care of what they hear. Take care of what they see. Take care of what they feel. The punitive approaches we see today reflect a double standard, where some hold a set of hopes and aspirations for their own children, but a vastly different one for others. The government, particularly the Minister for Children, are failing our tamariki. They claim to protect our young people, yet their policies disconnect them from their communities, expose them to harm, and set them on a path to failure. These so-called new boot camps are nothing more than a rehash of past failures. Untrained staff, no meaningful oversight, and isolated settings. These were the very conditions that allowed abuse to flourish in the 1970s, leading to the failures of the John Key government's boot camps. Have we learnt nothing? Take care of what our children hear. And right now, they're hearing politicians agreeing to the use of force in care. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, too much of this conversation has been focused around the tough on crime narrative, the offending of these rangatahi. But why are we willing to accept a double standard in how we treat these tamariki, accepting things for them that we would never accept for our own children? Let's shift our focus. Let us not look at their actions, but at the soil in which they've been planted. Let us understand the environment in which they have grown from and understand to guide the response we offer. Take care of what our children see. On behalf of the Green Party, I stand here to oppose this bill in the strongest terms. It is time to end the harmful boot camp experiment and put the rights, safety and well-being of tamariki first. Madam Speaker, let's take a moment to consider the age of these rangatahi. From 14 years old, these are children who have endured the worst that New Zealand has to offer. For many of them, no one cared what they saw, no one cared what they felt, and it is time for us as elected officials and leaders to deeply care about these tamariki and put their lives on a trajectory of being able to be the best they can be. An Oranga Tamariki briefing paints a stark picture of the background of these tamariki. 80% have confirmed or suspected mental health or disability-related diagnosis, 80%. 20% have attempted suicide. 90% face significant learning difficulties. Half of the boys and a quarter of the girls have been physically harmed more than 3 times in the past year. An overwhelming majority have grown up in poverty. So how does this government respond? It ignores expert evidence, dismisses official advice and undermines what we know works. Madam Speaker, these boot camps will re-traumatise our rangatahi for generations to come. These boot camps are not our future. We know that there are community organisations focused on prevention that are already working. I want to shout out to Ngāpuhi Iwi Social Services, specifically for their Mahuru program. Mahuru isn't just another intervention, it's a vision grounded in the importance of identity and connection. Through Mahuru, tamariki remain in their whare tapu o Ngāpuhi, where they can reconnect with their culture and heritage and learning about their identity in a supportive and familiar environment. Mahuru represents an opportunity for something different. Mr. Speaker, It is time for a shift. We need to focus on what works. We need to care about what our children see, what our children hear, and what our children feel.
Joseph Mooney. Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, that was very quick.
Yeah.
Our future. It's our future for the next lot.
Yeah.
I mean, community programs.
We're going to not stop the future.
Community programs is where it's at. I mean, under Labor, crime was going down. We can see that in the statistics.
Yep. Look at that.
And under this government, it's gone back up again, and a lot of it's due to poverty. A lot of it is due to stress in the family. And the way how Labor managed to help get that number back down was by providing funding to community service programs and social services. That's where the money needs to go.
Yeah, and then they'll probably end up drawing guns and end up retaliate.
Yeah.
Like that guy who got his pets taken off him. Guns are going to retaliate with the police soon.
Well, we've already got that kid who's been reintegrated back into the community. He did the 3 months, right? And he's just been accused. I think he's been accused of doing burglary of motor vehicle.
Yeah, I heard that on the news. Yeah, it's crazy.
And now they want to promote this. It's like you haven't even completed it yet. We don't even have a study to show whether or not it was effective. We know so far it hasn't been because we've got crime.
Yeah, it's one of those things like actually let something, flow on through to the end before you sit there and say that it's a success. I mean, here's a great one is cycle lanes. Oh, they're a failure before they've even opened, Well, and if you use the same logic, transmission gully. Oh, that's a failure. It hasn't reduced traffic congestion. It does open tomorrow, though.
It's like, what's wrong with just waiting? Wait for the results. Why do you have to push it now? Is it because you're worried that the results might show it doesn't work? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But wait until the stats come out. That's probably why.
Okay, let's get to Joseph Mooney.
Joseph Mooney. Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to rise and speak on the Oranga Tamariki responding to serious youth offending amendment bill at its first reading. Mr. Speaker, the youth justice system is working for most children and young people with offending behaviour, but not all, Mr. Speaker. There is a small cohort of young people who are committing most of the serious and persistent offending and continue to offend despite interventions. And Mr. Speaker, I can speak to this having been a youth advocate in the courts, having been a defence lawyer in courts across New Zealand, worked in prisons across New Zealand, worked as a mental health advocate across New Zealand. There are some, Mr. Speaker, who continue to come back time and time again to the courts, and those interventions aren't working. Something different needs to be done. And this bill, Mr. Speaker, is to do something different. So this bill, Mr. Speaker, will establish a young serious offender declaration and a new military-style academy order in the Oranga Tamariki Act. Mr. Speaker, this declaration, the YSO declaration, the Young Serious Offender Declaration, seeks to achieve increased public safety and accountability for offending and reoffending. And that accountability, Mr. Speaker, is important, as is the public safety component, which is important. And there are, unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, some young people, and not just young people, in this country who commit some very serious violent offending, Mr. Speaker, the most serious violent offending, in some cases if their offending is not arrested early enough. And Mr. Speaker, I have also seen this both professionally and personally, Mr. Speaker. And there are some, and I heard some comments around the use of force, and the use of force is a use of restraint, Mr. Speaker, for those who will commit violent offences potentially against themselves or against others who they are in a facility with, or against staff who they are in a facility with. And there is a necessity, Mr. Speaker, for restraint of those who would use force to prevent them from using that force. And that is the sole reason those rules will be in place. The other thing, Mr. Speaker, that this bill will do it aims to achieve a reduction in the seriousness and frequency of offending through access to a timely and enhanced rehabilitative service response. I'll say that again, Mr. Speaker, a timely and enhanced rehabilitative service response, which, as the Minister said in her speech, will put the needs of young people at the heart of the program. It will put the needs of the young person at the heart of the program. And, Mr. Speaker, it will have an intensive care management for each young person, recognising that there are a unique component of factors which have led them to the position they're in. And, Mr. Speaker, I've heard concerns around this being a military-style academy. And, Mr. Speaker, I can speak also from personal experience, having been an Army reservist. The Army isn't what it used to be, Mr. Speaker. The Army is not the place of physical discipline, of overtly aggressive behaviour, and bullying, etc. Mr. Speaker, that is not the modern New Zealand Army. Mr. Speaker, I spent time in Waiouru, in my initial training, and I came there, Mr. Speaker, as someone who thought of myself as an independent thinker. I wasn't sure how to handle that disciplined environment. I can say, Mr. Speaker, it's fantastic. There's the opportunity for 3 square meals a day, which is something many of these young people will not have experienced. There's the opportunity to form teams with the people that you are with.
And there's the opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to learn about what one is capable of, to learn things that one did not know, capabilities that one did not have. And it takes time, Mr. Speaker, to change behaviour. It doesn't happen in a few weeks. It doesn't even happen in a couple of months. And I know this having had many, many, many clients, Mr. Speaker, across New Zealand who have had a desire to change, who have had a real desire to change themselves, address the often acute trauma that sits within them, but they have struggled, Mr. Speaker, in rehabilitation programs to stay focused and to address them, because it is hard, hard work to address the demons, so to speak, that sit within people's souls that they need to address from their past. And it takes time, and this, Mr. Speaker, this program will give them that time, it will help give them those interventions, give them their rehabilitation, and give them that, help them find that sense of purpose that will empower them to live lives that will be good for them and be good for our community. I commend this bill to the House.
What is he talking about, fighting demons? Does he think this is a Doom video game? Like,
it's crazy. They need to get mental health people, officials, to talk to them, saying it won't work with the young ones. They end up need mental health help. Military basis.
I mean, he's not entirely wrong. I'll give that to him. I was going over the report for the military style activity camp, or MAC for short, that the last national government put out there. They found that 1 in 5 people that graduated from the program had a successful transition back into community. But there's a key thing that needs to be highlighted here. They were often living in a different location before the program, and they were living with a supportive member, so in their family, right? They often had like a supportive parent or a supportive role model in their family, and that's key, right? You've got to have that in your communities, otherwise these people will go back and reoffend.
We must be having something that gets Stacey to jump in.
Always.
Stacey has thoughts.
Just for once. No smooth brain today. We are good. The ADHD is kicking in bloody hard though, and memory is all over the place.
Let's go.
I think it was Laura was saying Nope, smooth brain. Aha. It hit me. There we go. Being funded by the taxpayer. There we go.
Yeah.
So basically the government is saying to us that if we want these little hooligans off the streets, we have to pay to do something about it. Right, which is the first one. The second one is we were talking about the difference between volunteer and forced.
Mm-hmm.
That word's gone to. And while that conversation was happening, I was thinking to myself, are they trying to turn us into South Korea? Like mandatory, there we go, mandatory.
Robot.
It's not just South Korea. Israel also has mandatory military service.
Right.
Yep.
I think Singapore as well, doesn't it?
Yes, I think Singapore does, yes.
Yep.
And I think Indonesia as well, but I'm not sure.
Compulsory, that'll do too. Thanks, Dave. And yeah, like I've been watching the comments coming up. I've been listening to the things, listening to you guys, and it's like all of you here tonight with us are absolutely right. Like getting forced into your being up before the sun rises, getting yelled at by superiors.
Yeah.
It's not going to help anybody in the long run.
Especially when people...
It's going to cause PTSD and CPTSD.
Yeah.
And
increasing mental health.
Exactly.
In America,
and people who have come from a background of that happening in their daily lives are not going to respond well.
No,
it's going to cause them more issues than they went in there with in the first place.
Yeah.
It's going to make them worse.
Exactly.
The support's not going to be there for them when they come out. I mean, Oranga Tamariki has already confirmed it's going to act 419 roles to meet the government's required spending cuts. Where's the support for these people?
They need mental health workers there to help them. But for what have them, because the government won't do it.
No.
Because there's not lack of funding.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. They have all of the evidence saying that, international evidence saying this does not work. And, hey, come back here. There it is. Right. Exactly.
I think
You
around
will be trained
Dreamland.
to hate the world. You will be trained to hate authority. You will be trained to just hate.
Yeah.
And with all the steps that this country is taking backwards, we're going to end up in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to know what their wrong place is. I'm looking at you, America.
Yep, old Trump.
Oh, yes, it's going to be a very interesting time.
Oh, yeah.
So, should we head on to Tanya Yankovic?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
We know what Paul Barlow says.
Speaker, I rise on behalf of New Zealand First in support of the Oranga Tamariki responding to serious youth offending amendment bill. Now, New Zealand First have always consistently championed policies that prioritise public safety, but also with a balance of ensuring that victims are heard and also that the offenders have the opportunity to rehabilitate. And that is one of the reasons that we are in support of this bill. We see that there is a balance in ensuring that people are held accountable for crimes, but that also that the victims are heard and that those who are committing the crimes have the opportunity to turn their lives around. And we feel satisfied that the policies and actions and strategies that are mentioned in this bill will actually do that and enable someone to take the time to make a decision to turn their life around. Now, we feel that it's important to protect our communities, to protect our offenders as well, and like I said, give them the ability to rehabilitate and then reintegrate back into society. And we feel that the time taken here in some of these strategies will give them that opportunity. New Zealand First supports this bill because, as you know, we are very much champions for public safety to ensure that severe offenders are properly addressed and that the community feels safe, knowing that we are taking care of them. This bill we see has a rehabilitation-focused angle, so there are interventions here to ensure there is a healthy balance between safety and community. Now, we also wanted to ensure that inside this bill there is an effective deterrent, so that prior to offending, someone may think, I don't think I'll do this because the pain of doing this is not worth it. And it may give them the opportunity to think twice as their path goes along in their own personal rehabilitation. We really do want to see a safer community. We want to really see our youth have the opportunity to change their life around, all of our youth. So in spite of often heckling that comes from the other side, it seems to be the same narrative. But New Zealand First always does listen to all New Zealanders. We have the youth at heart in our decision making. Hence, we commend this bill to the House.
So, will that be mandatory vaccinations on there, Tanya? Considering you are very anti, forced vaccinations from past experience? Isn't this going down the same path?
I don't want to hear anything to do with justice or anything like that from her. This is the same woman who wants to criminalise trans people for using the bathroom. Like, you expect me to take anything she says seriously?
I don't know. And she seems to get a lot of airtime on Parliament. I mean, how many order paper shows have we sat there and said, and I'll probably say for New Zealand First, it's either Andy Foster or Tanya Yankovic.
Well, I'll take Andy Foster any day of the week.
Put it this way, Andy Foster's walking around my house for a cup of coffee or tea.
Yeah.
She probably hasn't had a run for ages. She needs a run. It gives some military training.
Yeah. Now, let's get to a former social worker.
All right.
Another of the
Oh, I like this
In essence,
one.
from the original statement that opened,
Yeah,
in essence, this is what drives the ethos behind this bill. It explains why our own, just take that in, would turn their backs on our own mokopuna. Those ministers who cannot boast toto Māori, and you need to read about that to understand, hide behind their colleagues' struggles with disconnection to advance their own bigoted, autocratic agendas. So aroha ki ngā minita Māori e kuare ana, ki wā tātou toto e kōrero ana ki a koe. Aroha ki a koutou katoa. These ministers, just know, you have no need to conceal. We see you, we know you. Ka aroha ki tā tātou nei toto Māori. Do not think that we are blind to your actions, nor think that we will hesitate to defend them, even if it means holding our own to account. You might get a little bit upset about some of the stuff I'm saying. It might disturb you, and I hope it does. I want it to disrupt and disturb you. You might find it jarring, but buckle up, there's more to come. boot camps are a place where we can hobble, bring all our mokopuna together, make them wrong, and call them youth, but they're in fact children. They are our children. You have absolutely no right to think that you'll send them back to Oranga Tamariki. The irony of, let me read this, Oranga Tamariki and then the youth offending. If you had any understanding of our reo and the sacredness of it, you would know that is such a contradiction. Oranga Tamariki, youth offending. Oranga Tamariki, youth offending. Read some stuff and understand. Read some stuff and understand. This is the reality for our Tamariki Māori, who constitute 70% of children in state care. 70% of children in state care. You won't know. 70% of state care and 80% of those currently experiencing. I was a social worker back in the day, Mr. Speaker. I know what the Minister is rabbiting on about. I know. She's theorising, possibly having her own experiences. But trust me when I say, this is a hopeless, disgusting and shocking piece of work. The authors are completely lacking in evidence and mindset. And basically, this must not be commended. This must be burnt down. I'm tempted to rip it up. Kia ora tātou.
Oh!
Do another haka.
I'm tempted to rip it up. Oh my god, that is just such a big reminder from Hannah's ripping up the bill.
Get a sequel.
Oh heck yeah. Oh.
I'll throw that on screen quickly.
Yep. Now, this is when we get to the fun part. There's a few MPs that could be sitting and looked at. I think Willie Jackson.
He's always good, yeah.
Yes, he's always good. You know, he's not a seat warmer like, was it Paulo Garcia? So, yeah, let's get to, let's see what, was it Moana Maria Poto's ex-husband has to say.
Matua Willie, let's go.
Obviously, we oppose this terrible bill, the Oranga Tamariki Serious Youth Offending Amendment Bill. But, Mr. Speaker, it's appropriate to bring to the attention of the House that the hikoi that happened this week was not just about the rotten, filthy treaty principles bill. It was about what this government has been trying to do over the last 12 months in terms of implementing this type of legislation and removing kaupapa Māori initiatives and positivity, like treaty legislation, Mr. Speaker. Credible that that's now being removed from legislation, like the Māori Health Authority, like Te Reo Māori, they lost, what do we lose in terms of Te Reo Māori? $30 million. It's just shocking, the attacks. It's attack after attack after attack. And this bill, this legislation is no different. And how the government want us to buy it is by implementing their stupid, ridiculous boot camps. Based on LSV, on what's happening in terms of LSV, they're using that as an example. Mr. Speaker, I'm an ambassador for the LSV crew. I was one of their ambassadors and helped a number of people get involved in that. There's a big difference here. They were all volunteers. And it was a terrific course, but this course is quite different. And you've got to ask why this government can't listen to the voices of the hikoi. 50, well, maybe I'm in 60, 70, I know it's 55,000 plus. New Zealand First, Winston Peters thought it was 22,000, so shows how stupid New Zealand First are, Mr. Speaker. They don't know how to count. But 55,000, and then you had this government trying to ignore it. But all those people who are on that hikoi, Māori Party, Greens, Labour, National Party, we saw a lot of good National Party members there, said they're totally sick of this government and they want the Māori attacks to stop. This legislation is an example of that. This legislation is an example of a breach of treaty principles. A breach of treaty principles. So I want to break that down simply for the Minister, because her and her party have so much trouble, have so many problems in understanding treaty principles. There's what you call the 3 Ps. Just for the Minister, you need to tell your leader this. It's called participation, protection, and partnership. All right, participation-wise, Māori do not want to participate in your rotten, useless boot camps. All right, yeah. That's the participation part. We want to be consulted on it. Protection, we want our kids protected. We don't want them on your stupid boot camps. All right? No, we talk to all the iwi. Maybe you should start talking to the iwi. Mr. Speaker, 99% of these kids are our kids. And this minister who decides to ignore the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi is totally in breach of it. And the third part in terms of treaty principles, Mr. Speaker, are partnership, something the ACT Party refuses to accept. We don't want to partner up with this sort of rotten stuff. We want to get involved in what we know works. I tell you what works, Minister, not American-style boot camps. Tikanga Māori works. It's proven. Talk to Dr. Mason Jury. He will tell you, embed our young people in tikanga, Mr. Speaker. Te reo,
Aroha,
Definitely
manaakitanga.
talk to the
We have
jury.
the answers in
It's
terms
good.
of these young people, not your stupid, rotten, useless boot camps, all right, that are based on American-style principles, and that is not the way to go. You don't know, Minister, because yourself and
I
your
want
party...
members to not talk to each other across the chamber.
That's terrible, yes.
If you want to have a conversation, step outside.
Shocking. Yeah, stand outside and take Minister Seymour with you.
Mr Jackson, feel free to talk with me directly. Speak to the Speaker.
I'm speaking to it. That we know the answers in terms of this. Our former Minister, Willow Jean Prime, is at the forefront. We know that about Māori values, tikanga. I've seen it firsthand on my marae. Come to our marae, Minister. We'll show you the way with our kids instead of going to rotten, useless Americans and putting in your filthy style military boot camps. Kia ora tātou.
I want to see Willie Jackson talk to Trump. How much would that cost?
Oh, that would be amazing.
I want to lock them in the same room together.
Or will we end up having to get a Trump impersonator to do the job to give us a sneak peek? I mean, we could always do for a summer season of the show to see if we get a Trump impersonator to sit there and debate Willie Jackson.
Oh, it would be beautiful. I want to see him in Congress. I want to see Willie Jackson debate every Republican.
I don't think Willie Jackson would lower his standards to become an American citizen, though.
No, he won't.
No, but no, we got to keep him. We got to keep him.
Yeah. Yes. However, we're very happy to claim Julian Genter as our own.
Ah, yes.
Yes. As our own. Yes, my local MP. Okay, let's get through to the Disputes Tribunal first reading. We'll probably end up only going through the first speech. The first speech is very quick, though. Might be able to get two. Let's see how Goldie, as Willie Jackson calls him, does it.
Legislative statement on the Disputes Tribunal Amendment Bill.
That legislative statement is published under the authority of the House and can be found on the Parliament website.
Mr Speaker, I move that the Disputes Tribunal Amendment Bill be now read a first time, and I nominate the Justice Committee to consider this bill. Mr Speaker, improving timely justice, access to justice is a priority for this government. I'm proud to present this bill to the House today. In essence, it doubles the current financial jurisdiction of the Disputes Tribunal from $30,000 to $60,000. And this will improve access to justice for New Zealanders. It will provide an affordable forum for resolving more lower value claims at a time when low-cost dispute resolution is increasingly important for New Zealanders. Around 2,000 claims per year will experience improved access to justice as a result of this bill. It's because New Zealanders with civil claims between $30,000 and $60,000 currently do not have an affordable place to take their claims. It's uneconomic to take civil claims of this nature to the district court due to the significant costs of legal and court-related fees. This is commonly referred to as the justice gap and leads to people abandoning the amount of their claim over $30,000 to fall within the Disputes Tribunal jurisdiction, or accepting a loss by not pursuing a claim at all. This does not support a well-functioning justice system, inconsistent with the rule of law, and not helpful to the basic business of people getting on with their lives, taking risks in business, and resolving their disputes in a timely fashion. The Disputes Tribunal is a much cheaper, more acceptable dispute resolution forum that's well suited to considering claims of up to $60,000. The Tribunal takes an informal, inquisitorial approach and referees support parties to put their best case forward, determine the facts without the need for lawyers. The specific features of the Tribunal make it less formal than a court, quicker and cheaper, including hearings are held in private, no standard right to legal representation, creates an even playing field for both parties and eliminates legal fees. Limiting appeals to issue of unfairness or prejudice promotes the finality of the decisions. And thirdly, the statutory basis for the tribunal's decision-making, including that it shall have regard to the law but not be bound to give effect to strict legal rights or obligation, promotes a flexible, pragmatic resolutions. The low rate of appeals, rehearings and complaints show that the tribunal is operating effectively. New Zealanders have confidence in using it, and so we want to extend it. The tribunal is one of the busiest forums in the civil justice system. Despite this, it is effective in resolving disputes in a timely fashion, as one of the fastest disposal rates of the courts and tribunals in New Zealand. And I believe it's well placed to effectively manage higher value claims. I expect claim numbers will slowly increase as people become aware of this, and this will be closely monitored and managed by the Ministry of Justice. Tribunal is funded by the government and tribunal users paying a filing fee. It's appropriate that tribunal users help to recover some of the costs of administering the tribunal, given the private benefit of people having their disputes resolved. At higher values, the private benefits are greater, and with this change to the financial jurisdiction, parties will be able to recover up to $60,000 in debt owed. So a new filing fee of $468 for claims of more than $30,000 will aid in cost recovery and help maintain current service levels. Most of the costs will continue to be met by the Crown, as there is significant public interest in ensuring citizens feel they have a viable method to enforce their rights and uphold the rule of law. I'm aware, Mr. Speaker, that the requirement for the application to front the cost of filing an application fee can still be seen as a barrier, particularly where the applicant is not seeking financial compensation. This government is separately progressing proposals through the Regulatory Systems Tribunal Amendment Bill, which will give disputes tribunal referees the discretion to order the respondent to repay the cost of the filing fee to a wholly or partly successful applicant. This will help ensure that the costs of pursuing justice do not fall on those who have been wronged. My hope is that by keeping this tribunal significantly cheaper than bringing proceedings in the district court, in the absence of legal fees and additional court fees, it will continue to be seen as an affordable and accessible way to resolve disputes. The Disputes Tribunal Amendment Bill fulfills both the National Party's election manifesto commitment to raise the tribunal's financial jurisdiction, allowing it to resolve disputes of a higher value, and this government's justice priority to improve timely access to dispute resolution. Mr. Speaker, it's part of a broad-ranging justice response that focuses first on reducing the number of victims of violent crime, secondly on reducing that small number of serious repeat youth offenders, and thirdly about speeding up the processes of the courts. And this particular bill responds to that third area where if we can help New Zealanders get a resolution, faster resolution to their disputes and move on with their lives in a timely fashion, then that's a useful thing to do. And on that basis, I commend this bill to the House.
So, from what Paul Goldsmith has just said there is you can now take your Tesla claim, once the bill has passed its first reading, to the Disputes Tribunal instead of a district court, because Teslas are valued at on Trade Me at the moment. If you pop on Trade Me right now, you can buy Teslas for $54,000. There's a $55,000 one there. Oh, if you buy the Tesla Model Y and have a problem, unfortunately that will have to go through the courts. But this one here doesn't. So, yeah, I thought that might be quite a funny comparison to compare.
If you get a Cybertruck, you can now take your claim to court if you buy a Cybertruck. But yeah, so I understand the logic behind this. I don't disagree with Goldie. However, there's one thing I would like to have put in that bill. A referee should have a law degree, minimum. That should be a minimum
most
requirement.
of them are JPs, though.
Yep.
One of the things is typically a referee is a JP.
Generally,
and JP has basic law experiences in order to perform that role, particularly at Disputes Tribunal. You do get put through the training for it.
Yep.
Yeah, so I wouldn't sit there and say it's not like you're getting, say, Nicholas down here in Dunedin to sit there and be your referee out of the blue.
No, that's what I don't want.
No, you are actually getting people who actually do have some sort of qualification in there.
So, are you familiar with this? Because I'm not. This is out of my wheelhouse.
I have gone through the Disputes Tribunal, and I do know that all the adjudicators are typically JPs.
Yep.
And a JP justice of peace.
Do you think there should be a minimum requirement, though?
I don't know if it is a minimum requirement or not.
It's not.
Common practice is possibly could be the one on there. Common practice, because the justice of the peace is seen as a trustworthy member of the community.
Yeah. See, it's like, to me, it's like, oh, okay, this could result in some pretty hairy stuff. Like, it gets along with the person that you're taking to court, or taking to the tribunal, should I say?
And I do know, like, my experience in the Disputes Tribunal, my respondent did not turn up, and I still actually had to work to win the case. I wasn't just, here you are, gone. It's I actually had to still sit there and present a case, present proof, that sort of thing. It was not a walk in the park.
Mm-hmm.
The one good thing, though, is if you do end up with a claim in your favour, if you put an attachment order against your respondent's income for a financial judgment failure to be paid, you don't have to pay the attachment fee application with the courts.
Right.
Yeah, I think Cousin Jackie might actually be one who's in that field, because I do know that Cousin Jackie's job, so Jackie is Auntie Gwen's daughter, for those who want to know, which is Grandma's sister. Jackie, one of her jobs is on Saturdays is doing bail hearings in the Manukau District Court.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I do know Jackie. I think Jackie is a JP, but that's her job in the courts. And I do know when she has to do her yearly course thing in Wellington, she goes and catches up with Grandma.
Right. Well, if there's training that's part of being a referee, then no problems. I have
Yeah, and also on like district court, a lot of the disputes tribunal decisions, they have to follow precedents from the district court or the high court or above as well. So it's not like you're going to just magically become, a referee overnight. Like I also heard that Richard Premel's been appointed to the Waitangi Tribunal, but on the other hand, he won't exactly be able to rule on any cases in front of the Waitangi Tribunal until he's done his training.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you can thank Paul Barlow for giving me that piece of information.
All right. So, how much does it cost to take a court through the district case through the district court?
Your disputes tribunal. It's was it just a moment while I work out what the forms and fees are. So if we go shared screen, the fees to take a claim to the disputes tribunal is $59 for anything below $2,000, $117 from anything between $2 and $5, $234 between $5 and $30,000, and from what Goldie has just said there, to take it beyond there would be, I think it's double the highest fee at the moment.
Yep.
And also, if you are to file a counterclaim, the counterclaim has to also pay a fee associated with it.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty reasonable.
And if you want to take an appeal back to the tribunal, which usually means it gets in front of the same adjudicator, it's free. And if you want to take it to a district court judge, it's $260, and you have a period you have to file it through.
Okay. All right, then I have next to no problems with this.
Oh, no, that's understandable. Now, I forgot to do this before. Let's sit there and see the vote on the Oranga Tamariki bill.
Yes.
Their time of need.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The party vote has been called for. The clerk will conduct the party vote.
New Zealand National.
49 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes opposed.
Green Party of Aotearoa New Zealand.
15 votes opposed.
Action New Zealand.
11 votes in favour.
New Zealand First.
8 votes in favour.
Te Pāti Māori.
I don't blame them.
The ayes are 68 and noes are 49. The motion is agreed to.
Oranga Tamariki responding to Serious Youth Offending Amendment Bill, first reading.
The question is that the Oranga Tamariki responding to Serious Youth Offending Amendment Bill be considered by the Social Services and Community Committee. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. I call on Government Order of the Day number 5.
Okay. So we know how the MPs voted.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, for anything more on the district court, the disputes tribunal amendment bill, we'll park it. We'll park it for the next show, because by the looks of this week, if we look at the calendar for Parliament, and we'll get to showing, was it that screen there? It does not look like there's. Whoa, heck. I'm going to refresh that screen because that has changed since I last saw it. There were meant to be 2 select committee meetings this week, but they were dull ones. But it looks like nothing's happening in Parliament, and nothing's happening till next week either. The other news is we do not actually have a sitting schedule for 2025.
Feels like they're leaving that a bit late.
I don't know when they actually. Well, it's probably going through the motions. It probably doesn't get published until next month.
They better fast track it.
And I know usually when they do it, they tend to have a speech in Parliament about it as well from the Leader of the House, which in this case is Chris Bishop. Yeah. Okay, so let's get to the fun part of the bills. We got to get your submissions to be put in on. The responding to the abuse care legislation amendment bill closes on the 11th of December. Please make your submissions in. The Budapest Convention related matters amendment bill. God, I feel like we've said this one so many times. Is due on Thursday the 28th. At least it's this week. The statutes amendment bill will be due in on Wednesday the 4th of December. The bill we've just read, the Child this is a different one. Child Sex Offenders Government Agency Registration Amendment Bill closes on the 6th of December. Now the one we've actually just sat there and watched, the oversight of the Oranga Tamariki Systems Legislation Amendment Bill closes on the 8th of December. And thank you for whoever's posting those as we go in the chat. Thank you for doing that.
I came prepared this week.
You got the run sheet in front of you.
No. Normally I've got them all open in tabs on the computer.
Oh.
But this time, because there's so much typing and swapping and changing involved, so I'm just going to put it all onto Notepad. And then I can just copy and paste the whole thing back over again. Be done.
Yeah, that sounds easy. Is that our own internal notepad?
No, that's just PC Notepad.
Oh, okay. No, because we apparently have a notepad in the screen. Is one of the things in there that's available on Restreams, considering they keep offering new features.
Yeah.
So, how has everyone found tonight's show? What did we learn?
Look at that.
I learned that ACT keeps doing stupid things.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd like them to do less stupid.
No. You mean it was reinforced for you? We are not just learning this.
True.
Yes. Oh.
And Nicholas, how have you found it from your nice big comfy armchair?
Great. It's just they're just bickering, they are.
I know.
Yeah.
You have some good legislation, you have some bad legislation.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, it's
Get on with it. Just do it.
Yeah. Get on with it. Put the house in extended city, or do some work. Make it look like you're doing some work.
Or set the government.
Oh yeah, but we know that's not going to be quite so easy. You need a no confidence vote in the House, and I doubt that it's going to happen. Now, actually, I want to run opinions with you here. I feel that the fact that yes, we have three parties in a coalition, but in theory, the coalition has an allotted amount of time. Should there be time where the three parties in the coalition share around these allotted spots, so we don't just have Uncle Andy and Auntie Tanya from New Zealand First constantly talking? We could hear more on the same bills or something like that if we talk about New Zealand First. On ACT, I would have loved to have seen more ACT MPs actually do the government speeches on the Treaty Principles Bill, because to be honest, the national speeches just felt like, we're only supporting it at the first reading.
It's like copy paste from national.
Yep.
Yeah. Would that be? Is this something we say on a government bill? I don't know what the rules are around it, but should they just share the allotment speeches across the three parties rather than the government ACT and New Zealand First only getting one slot each?
I think what they need to do is borrow a top hat from Debbie and put little slips of paper into it and pull out the bits of paper to find out who the speaker's going to be.
Yeah.
And you have to be in the chamber.
Santa.
Yes.
You have to be in the chamber for to be in the hat. But yes, I like that.
Yes.
Yeah, I can picture I was a speaker at the chair going government house.
I'm sure Debbie's got plenty of top hats. I'm sure Debbie's got an extra top hat.
Yeah. It's there could be all sorts of fun there. Okay, so for us,
do it.
Oh, we can always put boxes on there. What do you call it? Yes, tonight here with a little table on the side on It's in the Bell. What box do you pick? Yes. Casey Costello, you're up next to speaking. Thank you.
Today's parliamentary sitting is brought to you by It's in the Ballots. Now, please put your hand in the box.
Lucky duck.
Yeah, lucky duck.
Oh, I can picture that could be quite funny. It's like going through the, in the first speech from someone older there going, now before we get to the debate, I remember the TV show It's in the Bag, and someone too good sit in the broom closet in the middle of the Hokitika Memorial Hall. Or something like that, you know. You can sort of, it's good to see a modern way of trying to work out how we speak.
Give him a booby prize. I'll make it.
Booby prize.
No,
you forfeit 8 minutes of your speech.
Right, the booby prize is to go to one of those boot camps.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And you don't receive your parliamentary salary while you're on it.
Oh, yes.
See, Winston there, he has $750,000 plus his pension.
Yes. Does he get the MP's pension, or what's the guts with that one?
It's double dipping.
Yeah, I mean, I know he gets New Zealand Super. But yeah, I don't know about the MP's pension, because he's probably on some older scheme as well, because he first got elected in 1978.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's probably well over $1 million by now.
Well, by simply working in Parliament, yeah. As an MP, yes. I mean, when did he last practice law?
Pass.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you for joining us, panelists, for tonight's Order Paper show. Feel free to stay over for after shows chats. And for us viewers who are out there, a bit diddling on tonight, but hey, we had nothing controversial considering last week.
Yeah.
So, yes, we'll see everyone back here at 8 p.m. next Sunday with an agenda. We don't know what's going to be happening, because who knows what could happen in Parliament in the next week. We will end up with a mysterious select committee meeting. So, we'll see you then, and we'll figure out what the show is by Friday.
I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching The Order Paper, your express ticket to the New Zealand House of Representatives. Every episode, we unravel the complex world of legislation, debate, and democracy. From bills to select committees, we've got it all covered. From our team of political commentators who will dissect and explain what's happened, so you can remain up to date on what's happened in the Aotearoa, New Zealand Parliament. To support our channel, you can become a Patreon member at patreon.com.